Hey guys, it's Brooke. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a quick and easy beginner tutorial on how to do back loop only single crochets for left-handed crocheters. I'm using Loops and Threads Everyday Cotton Yarn, and I'm using a 5mm hook. If you're a beginner and don't know what kind of hook to use, I always recommend looking at the back of your yarn label because it will tell you what hook to use. So for this yarn, it recommends a 5mm hook. Once you become a more intermediate crocheter, you'll understand and know when to change your hooks. Maybe you need a bigger hook or a smaller hook. But if you're just starting out with crochet, I highly recommend to just do what the yarn label says. They know things. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So all crochet basically starts off with a chain. And in order to do a chain, you have to start off with a slip knot. So what we're going to do is line our yarn up. We're going to have one end that actually ends, and the other side is going to be connected to our ball of yarn. Now, in order to do a slip knot, we're going to line our yarn up like this. So we've got the end on the left side, and we've got the side connecting to the ball of yarn on the right side. We're just going to grab the top of this loop that we've created here. And when we do that, we're going to pinch these two sides, a few inches underneath where your thumb is grabbing that loop. And now from here, what we're going to do is take this loop and we're going to twist it like so. And now we're going to grab the side of yarn that's connected to our ball of yarn, and we're going to pull that through like so. That's how you create a slip knot. I'm going to do it again. So I've got the side of my yarn that ends. I've got the side of my yarn that connects to my ball of yarn. I'm going to grab the top of this loop. I'm going to pinch these two sides together, twist. Now at this point, I'm going to grab the side that goes to my ball of yarn, and I'm going to pull on both the end and the side that connects to my ball of yarn until I create this loop. Now that is a slip knot. At this point, we're going to put it on our hook. So now what we need to do is tighten this. So you can tighten it by grabbing the end of your yarn and the yarn that's connected to your ball of yarn. And you're just going to pull those together, and that's how you tighten your loop. And now we're ready to actually start our chain. So in order to start our chain, what we're going to do is wrap our working yarn, also known as the yarn that's connected to our yarn ball. We're going to wrap that yarn around our hook like so. So you're going to wrap that around. And now at this point, what we're going to do is pull that yarn through the loop on our hook. So we're just going to pull it down like this. And that is one chain completed. So to make another chain, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to yarn over. We're going to pull it through our loop like so. And that's chain number 2. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And this is how you chain. So I'm just going to make about 10 chains here so I can show y'all how to start single crocheting. So I've finished my 10 chains here. If you're curious on how to count, you can either look at the front of the chains, which is what we're looking at now. If you hold these vertically, they look like little V's, so you can count each V. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can also count by looking at the back of your chains. If you roll your chains over like so, you'll see that we have these loops at the back, these humps. You can count the humps as well. So now we're going to start our first row by working through this chain with single crochets. So when some people crochet, they work through the front through these V's. Now when other people crochet, and what I like to do is I like to work through these back bumps that I was showing y'all. So I like working through these back bumps here. You can do it either way, it doesn't really matter, and neither method will affect your back loop only single crochet. Your first row, it doesn't really matter if you work through the back bumps or through the front. So I'm going to show you how to do both ways, just so you can decide for yourself later on which you want to do based on how it looks. So at first, I'm going to go through the front. So now we're going to start our first row of single crochets. So for back loop only single crochet, your first row is going to be single crocheting like normal. So all you're going to do is insert your hook through this first V right here. You're going to yarn over just like we did for the chain, and then you're going to pull it through this first chain that we're working through, like so. And at this point, you'll have 2 loops on your hook. So now we're going to yarn over again and pull through both of these loops. And that is one single crochet. Now I'm going to do the next stitch. I'm going to work through this V right here, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through that V, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now we're going to work through the next V the same way. We're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through that V, yarn over, pull through 2. This is what our 3 single crochets look like so far. So now I'm going to work the next couple through our back bump so you can see what that would look like. I'm going to turn my chain from the front to the side, and now you can see these bumps right here. So here is the first bump that I'll be working through. Now I'm going to insert my hook just like I've done with the past few stitches. I'm going to yarn over just like I've done with the past few stitches. Pull through that back bump. Yarn over again. Pull through those 2 loops. So single crocheting through the back bumps is exactly the same, it's just you're working through a different part of the chain. So now I'm going to work through this next stitch, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert my hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And now I've got one more stitch left, and I can tell because I've only got one more bump and I've only got one more V before we've got our little knot in our yarn. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And now our first row of single crochet is done. Now just by looking at the front of these stitches, you can see the difference between where we've worked through the V and where we worked through our back bumps. But the difference is exacerbated by just looking at the bottom. So I'm going to flip my stitches and look at the bottom of them. And you can see with these first few stitches where we work through the front of our V's, you've got a couple loops, but it's kind of hard to tell where each stitch starts and ends. But if you look over here, where we worked through the back bump, you can clearly see we've got V's, just like from our foundation chain. So this is why I like working through the back bump. I think it makes the stitches a little more clean looking from the front and from the bottom. But again, you can do whatever method you want. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So now we're ready to start row number 2. Now there are 2 ways you can start row number 2. First method is what most people do when they work rows of single crochets. They start with a chain 1, which is just exactly how we chained when we first started this row. So you're just going to yarn over and you're going to pull through the loop on your hook. And now at this point, if you chose to chain 1, you'll turn your work and you'll work back down your stitches, right? Now the second way you can work rows of single crochet is the way I do it. I actually don't chain 1. What I do is I just turn my work and I'll just immediately start working into these stitches. I prefer not chaining 1 because I think it makes a cleaner edge, but it's really completely up to you. If you're a beginner and you like chaining 1, feel free to do it. And if you're a beginner and you don't like chaining 1, if you're not a beginner, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. For this little swatch that I'm doing, I'm going to show y'all both methods. So first we're going to chain 1. And then we're going to turn our work. And now this row we're about to work is going to be the first row where we actually do back loop only single crochet. We've made it. In order to work the back loop only single crochet, I recommend turning your stitches and looking at the top of them. Just like with our foundation chain, you can see that we've got these V's, these arrows, right? So for normal single crochet, you'd be working through both the sections of the V. You'd be working through it like this. Now for a back loop only single crochet, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working through only this second loop. So only through this loop right here. And the reason why it's called a back loop is because when you're working the stitches, it's going to be facing you like this. So this loop is the front loop right here, and this loop is the back loop. So we're working back loop only through this back loop. Let's get started. So the first stitch we have to work is the stitch where our chain is coming out of. So it's this stitch right here. So this is what it would look like if I was doing a normal single crochet. I'm going to remove my hook and I'm going to work only through that back loop. So I'm going to insert my hook through that back loop and I'm going to single crochet at this point just like we did in the row before. So I'm going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. As we look at our completed stitch, you'll see that front loop that we skipped over just hanging right here below our stitch. Now we're going to work the next stitch. So we're going to work through the back loop only. I'm going to insert my hook through this back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you can see these 2 front loops right here that we've skipped. So I'm just going to keep going, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And it's just going to look like this all the way across, skipping that front loop and working through that back loop. Now I've got one more V left, one more stitch left to work. So I'm going to insert my hook through that back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And this is what our first row of back loop only single crochet looks like. Now for this next row, we're going to turn our work, and I'm just going to work the next row without chaining 1. So because I'm not chaining 1, all I'm going to do is turn my work. I highly recommend giving your loop a little tug. It'll give you a little more slack to work into this first stitch. So now we're going to back loop only single crochet all the way across again, and we need to work through this first stitch, which is going to be the same way we did the row before. So we're just going to insert our hook through this back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And now at this point, you've learned the back loop only single crochet stitch. It's really just this over and over again. It's pretty simple. It creates a really nice texture, and it gives you some stretch on your projects. Now I'm going to do a few more rows of the stitch just so you can see what a finished project would look like if you were using this stitch. Alright, so this is what my finished swatch looks like. As you can see on my rows of back loop only single crochet, you can see the bars that I've skipped, right? And it creates this nice kind of zigzag texture where each row is kind of at the back of the row previous from it. And that's what creates this nice stretch. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. That's going to be the end of this tutorial. If you're a left-handed crocheter and you want more lefty-friendly videos, please check out my channel. Or if you have any requests for any tutorials I can make, please let me know because I'd love to make crochet a little more accessible for everyone. Thanks so much for watching, guys!